like a simple rectangle, which you can either adding by pressing R on your keyboard or go on this little arrow and click the rectangle. You can also do a line, which is just a simple line, which you can't really see because like the rectangle is above it. And yeah, you can change here the weight, which is basically the thickness of the line, the color here as well. You can position it, which will be important if you have a, for example, a rectangle here. Hopefully it works now. And add a border around it. Let's change it to red. Let's go to 5 to see it better. The position just means where it is as on the rectangle. Position inside means it's inside the rectangle. Then center means it's the rectangle itself. The outer line is basically the middle of it, as you can see. And then there's the outside, if you want to have the border outside of the rectangle. All right, so let's get back to it. Let's add back the rectangle. Let's make like a small little landing navigation bar. And as you can maybe see, as I just added this rectangle in it, it also here in the layers, you can see it's kind of like under it because it belongs to the landing page, which makes sorting way better and finding items. And also it clips it into the side, so you don't have to worry about if it looks a little bit over goes over it, because it's not really seen, I'd say. But yeah, that's also why you should use frames for website, because it's easier to just add stuff and let it overlay a bit, because you don't really see it at the end. But yeah, let me just add a color. I don't know. Next tool is the text. You can just randomly add the text. Let's say home. You can change the size here to whatever you want. These are like variables you can decide from default. But if you don't like it or need a bigger one, you can just type any number you want. So you see this issue. This sometimes occurs because like this is selected as like a block because it's like a fixed size and it won't budge. If you want to like auto format it, you can go to this one, which basically puts it to the current size. So if you accidentally make it bigger or something, or maybe do something like this, you can, oh, what the fuck happened? You can just click on the resizing and here you go. Also here you can see the dimensions, which you can't really change in this one because it's like an auto format thing. You can mostly just change them here. Also here, sorry, back to this. Typography, here you can just search for a font. There are a lot of fonts. You can also search for Google fonts, popular fonts, anything. You can also install your fonts. That's what I meant earlier with like, if you install a font, that you can use it there as well, because it's also getting shown here. And there are literally hundreds of different fonts, which look really different. Some are not even fonts, as you can see. But yeah, let's just take this one and let's make it smaller. Oh yeah, I have to maybe resize it. That would be an idea. Yeah. So let's just let that stay here. Let's go to the next tool I want to show you, and that is the pen. Pen is also really good if you need like a curve or anything in your website. Maybe not, I don't know. The cool thing is about that is you can just really easily just add curves. I don't really use that tool, by the way. I just wanted to mention it here. Also, there is a new mode in Figma that is like a drawing tool where you can also have the pen. We can also draw. Maybe that's choose another color. If you want to like draw something on the canvas, maybe, I don't know, add your own little doodle or something, that's also now possible. And stroke, which you can't see because it's white. Here you go, which looks also really cool, I think. I mean, it's a cool tool to know. As I said, don't really use it as a website designer, but like, yeah. Right. There are some pretty cool things as well, like plugins, which I think are really, really great for Figma, because if you can't really use the functionalities that are already existing in Figma, you can just search for a plugin. The chance that there is an actual plugin is pretty high, and I just wanted to show you one of my favorite ones. The first one is Icon 8, where you can search any icon, where you can just search, I don't know, let's say a heart, for example. You can also change the colors if you want, and with a simple click, you can insert it to your website and have it as a PNG. So if you want to change the colors, you have to re-import it, but yeah, it's really nice. You can also use illustrations and photos. But yeah, I usually use it for the icons. The next one I wanted to show are noise and texture, which is pretty cool because you can decide about different textures. You can change the color and edit really simply onto the canvas. I mean, for example, I used this one at the example earlier. Let me see. And yeah, you can select, for example, at this rectangle, start the plugin, and let's change the color real quick. And that's how easy it is to add like this cool ass design. As I said, here are not only plugins, but there are also like settings that you can use in Figma and assets as well, that you can kind of make or either also install. There are also assets here. For example, this is from iOS. If you need like maybe something to begin with because you have no clue about like web design, everything, and don't want to do everything from scratch. So for example, you can just add this and have, for example, a simple, easy site. You can just also enter this like a home screen, easy peasy, just like this, if it loads. But yeah, for example, now you have like an Apple stock screen or home screen, if it loads fully. You can also find them through the assets here if you search for them, but yeah. Let's look, are there any questions? I'll just wait a couple. Okay, I see someone typing, so I'll wait till that person is done. And then I'll continue. Oh, yeah. So basically what I just went over was how Figma in general works, how that there are layers, that you have here different modes that you can use with different tools, and also that you have on the right side some properties you can use so you don't miss much. So yeah, let's go to the next one, which is color theory, which is pretty important if you want to design a website. Because like I know all the artists in here kind of hate me, but like I mean, color theory is such a weird topic, but you kind of explain a bit why it's important. I think what I struggled at the beginning was like choosing the right colors and everything, making a palette, but I'm gonna kind of explain how you can use different colors and how which one you should use in different scenarios. So let's start with maybe the words. First of all, that's hue. So hue is basically the color you choose. It doesn't change the saturation or anything, the lightness or darkness is just literally a different color. So as you can see, it's literally a rainbow. It has like all the same signs. I maybe can click on one that I can show you what I mean. This, what you can see here, this bar is the hue bar. So this is where you can change the different colors, and yeah, that's all it basically. Let's go to the next one. Saturation is how pigmented, I guess, the colors. So if it's like super bright or more like melancholic grayish, because it will go more into the grayish colors range. Um, to get this, you go on HSL, and the second color you can see here is the saturation. So if you change it to like 50, the saturation goes higher. Let's change it back to 20. And then we have tints and shades, which is basically making a color darker or lighter. So if you do a palette, I would always recommend to use the really less or not many colors, but rather saw that before. But color groups are like colors that really work with each other. I also made like 3 examples to show what I mean with this. So you have the contemporary colors. I forgot the English name for it. I'm really, really sorry. But it just basically means the colors that are on the other side of the color wheel. For example, here is it yellow and purple, blue and orange, green and red. You probably heard from it before, but these color kind of um, freak each other out and like highlight it better. For example, here I use the example of like yellow and purple that you can see they harmonize really, really well and bring out the website a bit better. And which I also talked about with like try out with different hues and everything. For example, I technically just used 3 different colors here, which is purple, kind of a pinkish tone, and yellow. And everything else is either like a lighter tint or a different saturation. Then we have the this kind of like color group, which is like 2 on the different side and 1, which is kind of hard to explain. I don't even know how it's called, but like it just works somehow. It does also work with like these middle colors. If you choose, for example, this blue and pink with the yellow, I just took this example and show you what I mean. For example, this is with like blue, orange, and yellow. The blue is there to really highlight it, you know. The orange and yellow is more for like the background color. So I will also talk about the 60-30-10 rule. This, for example, is a really good thing for the 60-30-10 rule at the website design. That's why I also took this group in, even though I have no clue how to call it. And then we have obviously similar colors, because, you know, similar colors kind of work together. And as I said, I made both, all of them a little bit lighter, used white or a little bit of a grayish to kind of put the text there and made this website. So yeah, because I mentioned it, I'll just explain it with this. I also have on the website an example about that, but the 60-30-10 rule. And when you design a website, there is this rule of like the 60%, which is usually the background. You use white and black, But if you have like some kind of brand color, you can also use that. For example, here is at a really light yellow. Then you have the secondary color, the 30%, which is usually used for like fonts, like smaller text, descriptions. And you have like the 10%, the accent color, which is popping out the first thing you see. That's usually used for example, in this case, the title, buttons that people have to press, maybe like important buttons. That's why you see sometimes like a red button that says like delete because it's important. So, and yeah, let's go to the website. So I made an exemplary website, which is called Deep Space. I just made a little website requirement, which is not really important right now. It was basically just for myself, but later I will share this file as well. So if you want to continue working on that project, to learn skills, see how it's actually built up, because I'm not talking about everything that I made here, just some pretty cool skills like how to get that background, how to make the title look like this, how to use shadows, everything. So yeah, if you want to look further into it, I will share the files as well as like resources I use. And yeah, maybe I'll put a quick stop and look into the chat. Maybe there is. Oh yeah. Oh sorry. Yeah, I can definitely do that. I'm so sorry. Um. Oh yeah. Good mention. Yeah. So tints and shades are basically just darker and lighter colors. Tints are the lighter ones and the shades are the darker ones. Black and white aren't colors, that are just the absence of colors at all. But if you, for example, I just click on here, let me change to this spec. But basically, you can get here easily the tints and shades. So as you can see here, tints are the color when you mix in white, so they get lighter and lighter, and shades are the colors when you mix in black, or and the darker it goes, more black you mix in technically. So yeah, hope that helps. Anything else? Oh yeah. Also, I wanted to talk about this later when I showed the website, but I can talk about it as well. Don't use white and black. Like that's maybe as you can see, except like the start page where I didn't really change the colors. I never really used white or black. For example, this here is a really light beige color, but not white. And it's, for example, a light green because it fits better and helps the eye better. Because imagine you open up a website that is fully white, it will just literally blind you. Same with black. Um, to be fair, black isn't a big of an issue, but I would say white. But because you have like some branding colors, for example, at this thing, it's green and brown, you can use like a really dark brown as your black um, replacement and a really, really light beige as your white replacement to still have like this really, really light white, technically, but not really, and really, really dark colors. Yeah. I mean, technically, about accessibility, because someone asked, it is also really important. I mean, UX is basically about how the user has the best experience. There's like this triangle of the three things you have to balance out to have like a really good website, which is first the design, that you have a pretty design, then the most functionalities, that you put every functionality you have to have in your website, and of course the simpleness, because the simpler the website, the easier it is to understand. But for example, if you put too much function in it, like too many like for example, if I put like all of these posts on one to show everything, for example, at the web page, what the, for example, the sleep space can do, then you can get easily overwhelmed because it's not simple enough, because there's too much information all at once. And also, usually the design looks horrible if you just put everything in a small space, that you have all functionality. So, yeah. Also, maybe a tip. I don't know if I added it here, but like small things like read more, kind of write things like forgot password, register, did you do a new account? Maybe write it out, explain more, and have it better accessible. And I mean, if we go on another level of accessible, you can see, maybe you noticed it earlier, this is like a line. This is basically, which you can activate through this, which shows you how high the contrast is. There's this AA standard, which tells you which color is easy to see behind the background. I can demonstrate that real quick. Just write hello world, maybe other, oh, emoji book. Here, if we go, oh, yeah, makes sense. For example, here, maybe, perhaps, please work. Okay, wait. Now, if I really want to show it, it doesn't work. Wow. Yeah, so as you can see, you can't use it on gradient backgrounds because like the color is changing also on the image, because Figma can't see the background of the image. So let's say we use this brown color and put the font in front. So yeah, this you can easily see, but if we go down here, it's harder to see. So yeah, if you want to make your text or I don't know, item or anything more have a higher contrast and also work after this, and it changes to the color that is easier seeable, you know. And as you can change the colors, you can see the curve also changes, because as I said, like you can't really read this, for example, especially if you have a bad sight. And so yeah, here's also the score. There are 3 different standards, and based on the score you can say like, okay, let's just say like 3 is, for example, the AA standard. I think 4.5 is the highest one that usually governments use, because they have to have like easy accessible websites and everything. For example, they have even features that even blind people can use their website with like narrators and everything. But yeah, it's about that. Yeah, we will get links afterwards. I have like a whole list of requirements, requirements, resources and everything that you can get afterwards. All right, then let's start with like how the fuck to do with like the shadings and wait, need a good example. Yeah, the effects. Wait, I think this. Oh, okay, this one has it. As you can see, you can add effects. Let's maybe make a new one. Make it green. And let's add a text again. Let's make it a little bit pinkish. All right. So, I mean, this looks cool and simple, but you can add some really, really cool effects. Let me just do that. It's kind of annoying. Oh, yeah, okay. Uh, First of all, you can add also strokes to text, which is pretty cool. Let's say maybe 2. And you have, for example, a stroke around the text. As I said, you can again decide where the stroke would be, but I would recommend it outside usually for most of them. Then you can click on effects and you can get different effects. The first one is drop shadow. Same with like everything else. With the drop shadow, I wouldn't use the recommended color of black. I would maybe go with like a really, really dark green in this case. Like this, for example, it's not black, it's nearly black, but it's like dark green and you get a nice shadow. You can also change the position on the y-axis and the x-axis. Oh, x is the horizontal line and y is the this line, like how high or low the position is. Here we go. For example, you can also just do 0 and 0. Then it's like kind of behind the text. I usually do that when I make those kind of things, like a card that should be highlighted, that you have like a kind of shadow behind it. And yeah, you can also then change the blur, which I can show you here. Let's make 300. So you can see the blur gets like really, really wide. Here you can't use the spread because you can only use that with like this rectangles. I just forgot the word. Let's change the color here as well. Here, let's add the effect, drop shadow. Here you can also use the spread. Spread is basically how far the shadow is. For example, this is 200. Here you can also blur it again. Oh, yeah, should be fine. But yeah, this is drop shadow, but you can also do, let's delete that real quick, an inner shadow, which is pretty cool for stuff like this. If it should look like that it goes inside, if that makes sense. Let me show you on this example. Here you can just change the settings, which is now inner shadow. Maybe change this to 2. So yeah, let's change the position to this. And now you can see it looks like it's inside, that someone carved it out. You can also, of course, change the position here. I would recommend 2. Yeah, this was it like this. If you want to have like this roundish effect that you can see here, where ID is ripple, for example, you can just set it to 0. Everything like the X and Y. And just make the spread maybe here. And you can kind of see with the right color. Here, let's go with this. It looks like kind of round. It works better if you have like a text with a darker background and a light shadow, which I can just show. Let's go maybe with the green. Oops. Here. Also, if you want to get to these settings, you can just click here. If you want to change it, you can change it also over here. But yeah. Yeah, here we go. Let's make it a little bit lighter. So yeah, that's about that. Then we have also a pretty cool effect called layer blur, which for text isn't really helpful, but for example, for this background, it's really helpful. Which I did here is take a picture from the frog. Wait, I'll just take this one, for example. So here we go. And I just put above it. Okay, yeah, that works. Let me just change that real quick. All right. So I just took the same object and put it over it, changed the opacity that you can do here to like 10, well, let's say 20 maybe. You can see it's kind of getting lighter, but you know, it's up to you. You can put it down to even 1% that you can't really see it. And then you go on effects, go on layer blur, and you can kind of say like the blur to like 30%. wait, background blur, sorry. Background blur, you can change it here and have a cool background blurred. And if you want, for example, that the frog, for example, is in front, you can just basically delete the background and just put it in here. So you can get like this effect that the title is behind the picture. It's a really cool effect. I can really recommend it. So yeah, that's how I did this part. As I've also mentioned earlier, for this kind of background, I just use the plugin from Noise and Texture. There are very, very many different textures. And for this one, I use the rock texture. It kind of looks like paper. I've changed also the color to like a dark green. Add it to the canvas. Let's go maybe with like a little bit darker one. And here you can see like this paper-like effect. You can also try out different ones, which are also really cool. Some are exporting as like a picture, which you can also resize, and they just they don't like change the size of the pattern, but only the size of how big the picture is, which I think is really cool. And yeah, that's how I made this picture. About this, the cool thing you can do with borders is that you can add like different types of borders. Let's try it here. Here's this little thing called advanced stroke settings, where you can decide how the stroke will look like. Let me just change some stuff that you can see it better. Let's change the color to like red, that it's more seeable. The thickness to, let's say, 5. And let it be on the center, perhaps. So yeah, let's go on this. And you can, for example, decide between a solid one and a dashed one. Also, if you don't like this squared looking thing, you can also change the endings to like a round one, a longer one, or a shorter one. The joints are this ones. Wait, I have to click on this again. How the border should look like. Should it be round? Should it be like kind of cut off? Or should it be like this? You can also do like a dynamic one if you're interested. As I said, I never really used a dynamic one, but like you can change the frequency, how often it should happen, how much of the wiggle should be there, how smooth it should be. Or even better, you can use it as like a brush stroke to let it look like that someone drew around it, basically. I think that's actually also a new setting in Figma, but yeah, I really, really like it. Also, what you can do when we go back to the basic one, you can also decide where the dashed or like the stroke should be. For example, if you just want it on the left side, you can just put it on the left here, the little thing here. You can also say custom ones that you can say, okay, here I want just 3, there I want 1. So yeah, that it's changing the thickness, for example, which also gives a cool effect, I'd say. But yeah. Then also about, wait, what did I want to say? Oh yeah, but this also works with the pen or the lines. For example, if you add a line, which I did here, you can, for example, let's make it to red again. Oops. Change the thickness to 5 and change, for example, the beginning and ending to round. You can also put like a arrow on the one side, a circular arrow, whatever you want, which is also pretty nice. And can also switch them over here. But what I wanted to actually show is just round them real quick here on the advanced settings, I just put it on dashed and make that line in between, for example. Yeah, any questions? I'll just wait again until everyone typed it out. Uh, so I've been doing designs for like 4 years. And I think it's like over time I've learned new skills. Like some stuff I didn't even know a couple months ago. So what I recommend is just watching a lot of tutorials, try out everything. I mean, you can just fuck around how I just did it to try out different things and incorporate it into your design. So it also really helps to get like inspiration pictures to kind of know in which direction you want to go. And yeah, I mean, it's really insane. Oh, yeah, I will post some at the end. Um, as I said, I have like a full ass list from like different tools where you can get different fonts, different designs for illustrations, pictures, different websites to see them. I can also post some tutorials how I learned it about like design principles, where you can also see like lots of stuff that I talked about today. And yeah. Anything else? Yeah, oh yeah, exactly, the grids. Oh yeah. Usually I don't use the grids. So as you can see, there is like cool things you can add. I totally forgot about them, but you can add the grids somewhere. Forgot where they are. But yeah, for example, if you work on a website and don't know how to align things, there is a grid you can add to see where to add things and have like a specific spacing. For example, there's an 8 grid, and you can say, okay, 4 of them should be this, the other 2 this, and 1 this. So it's a consistent design. Yeah, I totally forgot about this. I will add it later to the links to get the explanation. But yeah, thank you for mentioning it. All right, then I'll go to the last topic, which is about how you can make a basic website with all of the information you just got and how to decide the colors. I mean, based off the topic you choose, for example, in my case, it's a frog. I went with like more natural colors, for example, green and brown. You can also, if I go back, like, for example, this is more of a dreamy website. You can use, for example, purple, bluish, yellow to kind of get the emotion into, like, kind of make emotion at the person, if that makes sense. Like, for example, if you see, for example, something red, you maybe think of love or something. If you maybe see like blue, yellow, orange, you think of a beach. If you think on nature, about nature, you think of green and brownish colors. So kind of stick with that. Maybe about like the study theme, you can choose maybe like a whitish color, like a beige color for like pages. Be really colorful, because like different books are really colorful. Yeah. So it really depends on which topics you are working on. And so also about how to build a website. As you can see in the examples that I will send later, there are really different layouts. There's no rule on how to build one, but like most websites, I'd say, that are not just based off like insane creative designs are usually built with like a navigation bar. This is a quick bar where you can navigate quickly through everything. Um, Usually there on the left there's like some kind of icon, name or anything. When you click on it, get on the homepage and a search bar and technically an account if there is a website app where you need an account. And you have like the landing page where you can see it. With something I forgot to add is like a ready to action button where you say like, okay, read more, find out more here, get this, download that, which you usually see on websites. That's like the first thing you see that a person immediately gets more into the website, reads more, sees more. But yeah, if you scroll down, you have also the explanation. Some, for example, this is like the explanation how this website works, which is basically a social media for frogs to kind of get the user to understand how it works. Then under it, there are some examples. If it's like a shopping page, you can also display products. And maybe for the studying tool, you can show some examples from other users. And here's like some other things, like depending on how many features you add, you can kind of stack them under each other, which is good because then you can add a lot of things all at once. Because like the welcome page is like the page where you should more or less display everything, not in detail, but more like mentioning everything so the user knows what this is all about, what they can expect. And at the end, there's like a footer where you usually add like information about yourself, how to get in contact, how to apply, and also like a quick navigation, which I didn't add because there isn't really any information. It's not a real website, but yeah, that's about it. So we still have like 12 minutes left. If there are any questions, let me know. Also, later, if you do your project, I sadly don't really have time for the mentor sessions, but you can definitely ping me in the hackathon chat or send me a DM. I don't mind. And ask me questions if you have any specific ones regarding Figma, designs, UX, maybe even front end, because technically I'm a front end developer, but yeah. Oh, what you do. But what I just presented, UX is more about the user experience, like accessibility, how fast the user can get to like a specific function, everything. Oh, I didn't see that one. Yeah, as I said, I will add that later as an explanation because I forgot how to add the grid thing. I know there is a function in it as well in Figma, but I, as I said, don't really use that. I mean, if you have still questions, you can stay. For everyone else, that's it.